finance today. And then from grade 11, we know that, so this is grade 11 content. We know that you have the compound interest, which is 1 plus I over m to the power of m multiplied by n, or the straight line basis for simple interest, which is this one. So remember, your A is your accumulated amount, which is the amount that you have at the end of investment period. The amount you have at the end of the investment period. And then P would be the present value, and then present value is the amount you are investing, the amount of value you are investing, amount you are investing. And then I is your interest rate, and then N is your period in years. So N is your period in years, and then M would be your compounding period. So M is your compounding period in both the formulas. Compounding period. Okay, what is a compounding period? So a compounding period is the number of times you're adding your interest rate in a year. So number of times you are adding interest in a year. Okay, for example, they can say interest is compounded. Interest is compounded, i.e., if they're saying yearly, it means that you're adding interest only once a year. So your M would be 1. And then if they say interest is compounded quarterly, how many quarters do you have in a year? We have 4 quarters, not 3, guys. 4. Have 4 quarters because a quarter is made up of 3 months. Then if they say interest is compounded semi-annually, it means that your M is 2. So for semi-annually, they can also say twice yearly or every 6 months. So you should ask yourself, how many 6 months do you have, or how many groups of 6 months do you have in a year, which is 2. What's the other one? They can also say monthly, or interest rate is compounded monthly, in which your M would be 12, because how many months do you have in a year? We have 12 months. Okay, this works only for compound interest most of the time. This simple interest, they hardly do this compounding period for them. Okay, then when you go to grade 12, let me wrap this. Okay, so this is what we have for grade 11. From grade 11, we have this 2 formulas, which is the compound interest rate and the simple interest rate. So I'm just gonna write compound, and then this is simple. And then in grade 12, what do you have? You have annuities. I'm leaving space for more notes. So we have the annuities, okay, which is the future value, which would be x, and then this is 1 plus I over m to the power of m times n minus 1 over over m, and the present value, which would be x 1 minus 1 plus I over m to the power of negative n times m over I and m. Okay, so this is future value, f for future value, and then this is p for present value. Okay, so in grade 11 they're only going to ask you about the compound interest rate and the simple interest rate, but then in grade 12 they can ask questions that need you to apply all four. Okay, when do we use, for grade 12, when do we use the compound interest rate, and then when do we use the annuities? So we use the compound interest rate or the grade 11 formulas. Okay, let me start with this one. We use the annuities if you have fixed payment over fixed payment intervals. Fixed payment intervals, meaning both of them have to be fixed payment intervals. What do we mean by that? So for questions where they ask you, or they say Sipho invests 3,000 into a savings account, and thereafter makes payments of 3,000 at the end of every month. So two things to notice here: the payments are monthly since it's at the end of every month, and also it's only 3,000, meaning that you have what, fixed payments at fixed intervals. While for the grade 11 ones, you only use this ones if you don't have no fixed payment, no fixed intervals, or one of them can be fixed. So i.e. here they can say you pay 3,000 or you save 3,000 into an account in Jan, and then thereafter you pay 4,000 in March, and then thereafter you put in another 5,000 in June. So if you check the spaces between the months, they are not constant, and the values are also not constant. Here they are changing, where you have 3,000, 4,000, and 5,000, while in the grade 12 ones it has to be one value over and over and over again, and also the interval between the period where you put in your values has to be the same. And then again, when do you use the grade 11 one? It can be no fixed payment, like both of them, maybe they are not fixed, or one is fixed. So maybe a fixed payment, but the intervals are not fixed. Intervals not fixed, i.e. you pay 3,000 in Jan, 3,000 in March, another 3,000 in September. So you see, the money is fixed, but then the period or the space in between the period or the months is not fixed. Another time where you should use this is if you have no fixed payment, so your payment doesn't have to be fixed, but your intervals is fixed.